Thank you. Military members and their families understand the risk involved with the job, especially when deployed. But worrying about themselves and their family at home is not an extra burden they want to bear. Eyewitness News military reporter Luke Simon fills us in on what people here at Randolph Air Base are experiencing.
As you said, this is something that many military members don't want to have to deal with, especially when they're considered to be at home. But here at Joint Base San Antonio's Randolph Air Force Base, a message was sent out to those living on base that they may want to get their blood tested for lead. This is the actual message sent out to residents living at Randolph Air Force Base, saying current military, retirees, and/or dependents of military residents are eligible for the blood screening. It was sent by the commander of the 502nd Security Forces Group and the Joint Base San Antonio Brigadier General just days after a town hall that was hosted at Randolph. In Wednesday's meeting, residents were allowed to speak freely and talk about the issues they are having with their homes on base.
My house and many of the houses on base make Section 8 housing look appealing.
Many in attendance complained of issues with mold, lead paint, pest control, and other issues. Now, Randolph Air Force Base is most known for its undergraduate instructor pilot and remotely piloted aircraft training. And according to Randolph Family Housing, there are 300 historical homes on the base run by a third-party real estate service. Now, during Tuesday's town hall at Randolph, Brigadier General Laura Linderman told residents to be honest and that they were working to assess issues with the housing in Joint Base San Antonio's installations. Right now, JBSA is assessing all of the feedback and looking at those living facilities. As to what changes or improvements may be on the horizon, that is still up for debate. Now, we also have more information about Randolph's blood screening and a look at that town hall on our website at KINS5.com. Reporting in Military City, USA, Luke Simons, KINS 5 Eyewitness News.